Bishop Thomas Dabre, thank you for granting us this time for this interview. First of all, I'd like to ask you, how is the Congress going so far for you here in Quebec?
I'm very highly impressed by the entire proceedings of this 49th International Eucharistic Congress here at Quebec in Canada. It is very well organized. The talks here are very substantial and the testimonies are very personal.
Great. I'd like to ask you a few questions about India. In a country as multicultural as India, what is the impact of what the Church has to say?
It's a very good question that you have posed. The Church has been in India, you can say, for the last 2000 years, because we have a sizable section of the Catholic community, particularly in Kerala, and they have the tradition which is accepted, credible, that St. Thomas or his disciples came to India to evangelize. We have about 18 million Catholics in India. India has had many problems. One of the biggest problems in my country faced by the wider human society is one of caste system.
Yes.
According to the caste system, all human beings are born inferior or superior. And you cannot abandon your inferior status and then later by your achievement or hard work you enter into a higher status. That's not possible because the caste system is of divine origin. And some human beings are considered so low that they are outside the caste system and they are known as the Dalits, the oppressed, the deprived, most marginalized section of human beings in the Indian society. Now the Church has brought the sense of human dignity and equality, and within the Church, because of the gospel values,
Yes.
all men and women without any discrimination, exception, are treated as equal human beings. And that, I think, is one of the best contributions of the Church to Indian society. And many Hindu leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Dr. Ambedkar, and others, they were influenced by Christianity. And with this influence, they also launched reforms within Hindu community to promote human dignity and equality of all sexes.
This caste system is not legal anymore, I understood.
Yes, you're right.
But it's still a reality.
Yes.
And when you speak of the Eucharist to the people in India, and you talk about the God within the bread available for everybody, what is the reaction you get?
So you see, because of the Eucharist, which is administered to all the believers without any discrimination, so before the Eucharist, all human beings are treated equally, provided they have, of course, proper interior spiritual dispositions, acceptance of the Lord and the teaching of the Church. Then without any discrimination, they can approach the table of the Lord. And within the Church, most of the people actually in India are from the low caste background. But when they are in the Church, there is no caste system at all. And the Church has really, I can say, uprooted the caste system. So all the believers, as believers, they do not accept the caste system.
Okay.
And the Hindus also, when they come into the Church during Mass, they also without discrimination would like to approach the table of the Lord and receive the Holy Eucharist, of course, which we cannot give because they are not baptized or they have not accepted the Lord and the full teaching. But instinctively, all the Hindus, they also feel that they can be treated equally within the Catholic Church.
When in Canada we think about the church in India, a lot of people will think about Mother Teresa. So a few years after her death now, what is the legacy that you can still see and feel in the soul of the church in India?
See, Mother Teresa was known all over the world, and in particular in India, where we have about 80% of the Indians belong to Hinduism. But most of the beneficiaries of services, charitable services, are Hindus and of various religions.
Okay.
So the Catholic beneficiaries of the services, apostolic works of the missionaries of charity, they are very few in numbers. Most of the beneficiaries, by far the majority, are Hindus and of other religions. And Mother Teresa, while manifesting her love for the Lord, she showed the compassion of Jesus without discrimination to all human beings, the despised, the lowliest, the lost, and the poorest. And her services were very well received. So there were some followers, you can say, within the organization of Mother Teresa, the followers of Mother Teresa, and who also volunteered to render service to the poor and the needy. So one could say that Mother Teresa did succeed in making a tremendous impact on the Hindu mind and to understand religion as a way of service to all human beings.
India is undergoing an economic revolution. This is what we hear here in Canada. I guess that with that comes a lot of responsibilities for the church. We've seen what the Western world has become with its faith. Is this a challenge the church is up to in India?
You see, there is a phenomenal economic growth in India, particularly since the early 90s. Now, according to the government statistics, the growth of Indian economy has risen right up to 9% and a little more than 9%, which is quite a high growth of economy in the country. So we can see visible effects of globalization and the economic progress that globalization has brought into the country. But this is not to say that there is no disparity between the rich and the poor in the country. In our country, still 300 million people are living below the poverty line. That means they have to manage on $1 or $2 a day. This is so much money, that is $1 or $2 that is spent in the West on for the sake of animals, to give the fodder to the animals. So you can see that 300 million people of India are still below the poverty line. So this economic globalization that makes the rich richer, and there is a tendency to make the poor poorer, because in economic globalization, those who have the opportunity, they are the ones who can capitalize on the opportunities that are provided by globalization. But with globalization, materialism also comes along with that. So I think, in my view, the single most challenge that the church in our country, in her pastoral ministry, has to respond to and deal with is the rising trend of materialism, hedonism, consumerism. And also it is a threat to Indian cultures, because along with globalization also come Western values and Western cultural features.
Okay.
And so India has a wonderful culture, age-old culture, proven culture, many good family values, many good community values, many good cosmic values. So many languages also. So in some way, all this is in some way, I think, at risk because of this globalization. And this is another challenge that the church must respond to.
I think the church is also up to the challenge of having to face violence in different situations.
Yes.
I think yourself, you were the victim of a terrorist attack a few years ago. How did it change your life?
You see, most of the Hindus are well disposed towards the church. As you have said, there is a tendency today towards fundamentalism, fanaticism, extremism.
Yes.
But mind you, we have a population of 1 billion people in our country. So out of 1 billion, even if you can say 1 million, 2 million, or several million of them, if they become violent or they oppose the church, that does not mean that most of our countrymen are fanatical. And I'm inclined to think that the Hindus and majority of the Indians are well disposed, because in some of our educational institutions, most of the people are Hindus. On the staff there are Hindus, among the students there are Hindus. In most of our medical institutions, dispensaries, hospitals, clinics, most of the patients and the beneficiaries are the Hindus.
Yes.
So much so that many of the Hindus, they fight to get admission to our schools. So it is not true, in my view, to say that in general the Hindus are opposed to the church. But a few are.
Okay.
And I can say theologically, philosophically, or culturally, the Hindu mind finds it difficult to understand why people should convert from one religion to another.
Okay.
Because they believe that all religions are equal, and that there is one creator who is God, and ultimately if all do the will of God, all will return to God. So because of this understanding of theirs, they are not able to understand the Christian revelation, which teaches us that God has chosen to save humanity in and through Jesus Christ. So the Hindus are not able to understand. So some of them say that India is for Hindus, and Indians must become Hindus, and foreign religions, in view of some Hindus, have no place in our country. We have politicians who have gone on record saying that Christians must leave the country because their religion is of foreign origin. So it is not, I would say, because they are necessarily ill-disposed or bad people, but they are not able to comprehend the significance of conversion, evangelization, which for us is of divine revelation and of divine origin.
But what was your personal experience with that? I think you were...
Yes, so we went for a program. We set up an educational institution for the benefit of the poor children. The people there are most poor. I think here in this country, perhaps you'll find it very difficult to imagine and to comprehend their situation. It's intense poverty, a situation of degradation. Basic human amenities and infrastructural facilities are not there. So we thought by setting up some educational institutions, we'll help them to come up economically, culturally, and be able to take their responsible positions in the mainstream of the country. But I think it is because of the misunderstanding. There are prejudices. In the past, of course, some Christian missionaries have made mistakes, that they have not given a positive view of Hinduism. They tended to be negative. Well, evangelization should always be done, but evangelization should not be done, presenting a very negative picture of other religions. In the past, that has happened. So when we went there, they thought missionaries have come here and they are going to convert the local population there by fraud or by force or by deception or by enticement. They never interacted with us. But it was, so to say, prejudice that drove them to attack me and of my companions and my friends. I think Father Albert De Silva, he was there with me also when we were under attack.
Okay.
But we got the sympathy from the government authorities, and when I stood up to represent our case, the district highest police authority, she was a woman, she said, Bishop Dabre, you don't need to speak for yourself. We know who you are. We know your work. It is pure misunderstanding that has led to this assault. And we got a lot of sympathy in the press too.
To conclude this interview, I have a special question to ask you. If you could appear personally to every person in India, and you could tell them one or two sentences, what would you tell them?
I would always say to them what I always say, that the church would like to render service to the Indian people by doing various sorts of social services, helping the people to come out of their poverty and misery, to give them human dignity, sense of human equality. But I always tell them, and I will continue to tell them, the best that the church has to offer to India is Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and life, the Savior of the world.
Thank you very much, Bishop Thomas Dabre from the Diocese of Vasai in India. Thank you for your time.
Welcome. God bless you.